Now, I'd like to come to reality. There's this concept of stomach infrastructure. So even if we're able to get this top 5% to key into the agenda of a visionary leader, do you see stomach infrastructure as something that could be wiped away overnight like that?
It can be, because I've also been in politics. I know you sometimes tell the people, you know, we don't have money to give you, but take their money, but don't vote for them. And they will agree with you.
And it happened?
And they would, yes.
The UNCP, which you were a very prominent figure of, adopted General Abacha in those days. All the 5 political parties adopted only one candidate. Would you like to shed some light as to how that happened?
All the parties were stampeded into adopting General Abacha.
Last Osun State governorship election, you are one of the fathers of the SDP in Osun State. And when there was a tie between the APC and the PDP, and a rerun was called, it became obvious that in the zone where the rerun will be decided was controlled by the SDP. And at that time, a number of meetings were held, and at the end of the day, the SDP candidate, Chief Omishore, they pitched his tent with the APC. Can you give us an insight as to what really happened? Because there are lots of speculations all over the place.
I like this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
To explain it, because I led the SDP.
Oh, really?
And anybody who monitored our campaign will know that the APC was the real focus of our campaign.
How do you mean, sir?
They were the main target of our attacks.
Okay. Because they were the incumbents anyway.
They were the incumbents.
Okay.
So we finished the election, and there was going to be a room where we were critical. And I said to the leadership of the SDP, including the candidate, that we had to listen to both sides. It's not a question of I like you. It's a question of what vision you have. So you have to persuade us.
Both groups.
Yeah. So the PDP came, Senator Bukola Saraki
led the PDP team.
And we met them. Of course, we're all in PDP together, so we're quite familiar with it. And he tried to backslap. I said, no, this is no backslapping, this is serious business. We have 7 conditions written that any of the 2 sides that we will support must agree to. 1, salaries must be paid as well due, pensions must be paid, the educational system subsisting them must be reformed, returned to the status quo ante.
Wow.
You cannot be having one uniform from all the schools. You cannot be merging Muslim, Christian schools and all of that. You cannot be having a system of education in Osun that was different from Nigeria. They had elementary, middle, and high schools. No, Nigeria was running 6, 3, 4. So for 8 years, Osun was not getting grants.
What are the other conditions?
So we also said, we observed that you are carrying our wealth to Lagos. So contracts must be given to indigenes, unless when they have no capacity to perform. We found that the Obas were not performing. So we said the Council of Obas must be resuscitated and revived. And finally, we had a few roads in our own manifesto that we wanted those. That was it. So we gave it Saraki looked at it and said, this should not be difficult, but I'll get back to you. Unless he'll get back tomorrow.
He said he'll get back to you, but he never did.
Yeah. Then Alhaji Atiku Abubakar came to Osun, so he called me, because my friend.
Yeah.
He's missionary's friend. He said, where are you people? I said, we are at Ife. He said, wait for me, I'm coming. I'll get there before 3. I said, okay. When it was 7 o'clock, OGG, Daniel, who was his Director General
of his campaign organization.
He said, they are already in Abuja. I said, what happened? He said, the PDP candidate said he didn't need SDP.
Okay.
I said, fine. So I left. The next day, Kayode Fayemi, who was the governor, who is still the governor of Ekiti, came. So he saw me set up school, and said, this had nothing to do with school tie.
You two wanted to back.
This is serious business.
Mm.
This is what we gave the PDP, gave him a copy. He looked at it, he said, this is doable. Go and come back. I can't take your word. You have to go and come back. So we waited. When he came back, he came with 4 other governors.
To Ife.
And said, this is acceptable to us. We've agreed to it. I said, So you still don't believe? I said, I believe. Yeah, you sign it. Then that night, Oshomole was the national chairman. He flew into Ibadan in the night. I said, could we meet? Because he wants to confirm that the terms are acceptable to them. And he said, haven't you spent money? Shouldn't we repay you? I said, we are not poor people. So we're not asking for money. We're only asking for those things. And President Buhari was then in New York for United Nations General Assembly. He called twice to confirm that those terms were acceptable. So we had no choice. One side said they didn't need us. The other side agreed to our term.
So it's not as if you were given money.
No.
Because what people say in the street is that 3 billion naira was given to the governorship aspirants.
They asked us, how much did we spend? And I told them we are not poor people.
But would you know if money was paid behind you to some of your members?
Categorically, no.
Okay.
And even Oshomole had to address a press conference on this, that we didn't ask for money, nor did we receive. Because we know the danger of receiving money.
Okay.
If we are taking money, they might refuse to implement those things.
Because it's been paid anyway.
Yeah. And those were the things we used to campaign against them. So, and they've done it.
Now, the governorship election comes up in a few months. If, as you have said now, Governor Oyetola has been living up to the billings of your campaign to some large extent, I mean, not absolutely, but to a very major extent, does that mean the SDP is going to support Oyetola for second term?
I cannot say yet. But we think he has behaved like a loyal man with integrity. And integrity matters a lot. When we come to that bridge, we'll see that again.
Okay.
We still have some elements in our own roadmap for the development of Osun State.
Certainly.
Say, what do you think about this? Well, you demonstrated in the past that
you can be a man of your word.
So let us see.
Okay.
Because politics must be about service.
But because at that time people thought that because a lot of the major players in the SDP, yourself, Chief Omishori, and a couple of other people I don't want to digress into because of time now, were most previously at that time from the PDP. So people thought naturally you will just collaborate with the PDP.
That's what I'm saying. That
but now you've been able to let us see.
Backslapping. Oh, PDP was a more natural home. But they didn't even give a consideration to what we wanted.
Now we live in the present, presidential election, because Nigeria's president, I don't know if the power of Nigeria's president is overrated or not, but we know he's a powerful entity, that office. And so we cannot take lightly who assumes that position. Aside the APC and the PDP, there hasn't been many people who have shown interest in that office. But I want you to take a look at the dramatis personnel, I mean those the active participants and the electorate. Are we ready for this kind of transformation and change that we all clamor that we want to see birth in 2023? Are we ready as a nation? Are we serious? The electorate now and the major players on the other side.
All of us.
All of us.
Collectively. We are not ready. We are not serious because we don't even know what we are talking about.
How do you mean?
Oh, we want a better 2023. Have we defined it? What is better 2023? What does it mean in terms of education? What does it mean in terms of agriculture, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of foreign policy, and so on? Have we defined it? So we just, Nigerians, we love slogans. And that's why we get deceived. I will deal with corruption. I will change the economy.
Sloganeering.
I will deal with security. And we're happy. And we elected.
We sing and dance.
Did we ask, how will you do security? What will you do in 3 months? What should you expect in 9 months? What should we expect in 1 year?
How will you dislodge the establishment? Because the establishment is not going to sit back idle watching you transform the society from which they've been benefiting for so long. So we should be asking such questions. How are you going to dislodge the establishment?
Exactly. Are you going to... I will believe that anybody who wants to change Nigeria must be ready to create a new establishment. Because the dialectic theory says when there is a position, we call it thesis, an antithesis will develop. At a certain time, there will be a conflagration of both. They generate a new synthesis. Is that synthesis that we need? That synthesis that will synthesize the best in all Nigerians together to create a better society, to guarantee light for all, to guarantee education, to guarantee that the student that go to a university will finish in 4 years and not spend 10 years and things like that. And
we've not. Your assessment is that we've not even started.
We've not started
because we have not even defined.
And there is no body parading the street now that is talking about that. There's nobody who is talking about the contemporary problem of inflation, the value of the currency. The fact that they say we produce 11 megawatts, our transmission line can only transmit 7,000. So we are wasting 4,000 megawatts. Nobody is talking about that. And that 7,000 collapses and becomes 2,000. And everybody has to run on diesel generator.
Yes. Nobody's talking about fuel subsidy.
Nobody is talking about all of that.
So when you have an electorate that is not willing to interrogate or does not even have have not demonstrated capacity to interrogate those who have offered themselves, doesn't that take us even in a whirlwind further backwards?
And that is why I said the chances are that successors will be worse than their predecessors because we are not asking the right question. And those who can interrogate on our behalf, who are the media men.
The media men.
Because you see, for a voter to make a rational democratic choice, he must have facts.
True.
And then balance and say, I think this one can do.
True.
But even the media, they are not asking the questions. They're just talking this man made this one. This one didn't make this one. This one
some are saying
betrayal.
the media is not being given the chance to interrogate the issues in a constructive, critical, and lacerating manner. Do you agree with that?
Coming up.
It seems as if the establishment, who are the coagulators of the society, have lost it. That's the impression a lot of people have now.
You think so? I don't know anywhere in the world where anybody gives you
That chance, you have to fight for it.
You have to fight for it.
Could it be due to lack of capacity because of underfunding or because of media ownership, because the owners themselves are part of the establishment that we want to dislodge?
You are right. Sometimes the ownership, their heads are plugged in the political circuitry, so they're part of it. So it becomes difficult for them to be objective. That is part of it. Some of the media, they are not paying at all.
So that shakes out serious-minded people.
People are just like that Stalin's demonstration.
Yeah, the chicken, the Stalin's chicken.
So they can't do what they are supposed
to do. When you were professionals, the professional bodies in Nigeria were very active. They were the front lines. After the media, we had Alade Oduewa and the rest of them at that time. Very hot people. They were supported closely, very closely by the professional bodies, the MBAs, even the ICANs. As conservative as their profession is and was, they were active in terms of interrogating leadership at expense, great expense to their lives. How about turning in that direction now? But what we see now is so many flukes.
Really, that might be the thing to do. Because we cannot just throw our hands up and give up. You talked about the journalists then. You had a very, very tough, disciplined bar association. You had a very good labor.
Yes, labor union, student bodies.
Then the student body. Offered the teachers, not these days that they have been almost tired out with years of negotiation and renegotiation. But we might have to go back to them. The Bar Association, ICANN, Nasima.
How feasible is this when we consider the fact that over the last 3 decades, the establishment have steadily, systematically, and persistently supplanted their goons or loyalists, as it were, in the leadership of many of these professional bodies? Because the process began way back some 4 decades ago, and gradually they took over.
Right. You are right, but most times they concentrate on the leadership at the headquarters.
True.
So what you do therefore is to go into the states. They haven't really cared too much about that. Or sometimes, if you are thinking of an organization like NLC now, you look at some of the powerful constituent bodies, NUPENG, banking and finance workers, and so on.
You'll be fair and what have you.
Because really now you are not creating an anti-government or an anti-anybody. You are saying, you want to rule this country, we love you. Tell us, how would our lives be better? When it comes to mental consciousness, in terms of political decision making, Southwest is a critical factor.
I agree.
And this is understandable. We used to consume 60% of newspapers, readers, were the greatest critical elements, really. So once you were able to for once, railroad
that region.
The rest was easy because the North had powerful gatekeepers. One Emma gives an instruction, and that was it.
True.
And
it's not as diffused as it is in the Southwest.
No. If we want to make a better Nigeria, even for the establishment, for them to continue to have a Nigeria in which there will be an establishment, because this country has never been as divided as this.
True.
We have not seen centrifugal forces. For the first time in the history of Nigeria since 1914, the Yorubas had not loudly asked for a secession.
True.
They've never done that. You haven't that.
True.
You haven't the very loud noises from the East. And we've not had, even in the Civil War, we didn't have this level of insecurity.
So it's in the selfish interest of the establishment.
They have to be an establishment in a country. So that country must survive. It's in their enlightened interest that we must look at how Nigeria can cohere, can live together in peace, and be sure that the people who happily belong to Nigeria and claim to be Nigerian. So we have to be able to interrogate those who will come.
So the establishments, are they the ones that that are referred to as the owners of Nigeria? Because every society has establishment, as
yes, they are the owners. I mean, I once told people,
the powers behind the throne.
Yes.
It seems as if the establishment, who are the coagulators of the society, have lost it. That's the impression a lot of people have now.
You think so? The clique. Normally, the normal name for them is that they clique.
Cabal.
Yeah. And they are not ethnic.
They are not ethnic.
They cut across.
Every tribe is represented in that clique.
In that clique. You never know which party they will go to. They have no partisan loyalty. They have only loyalty to that
interest.
So, if it suits the establishment, they think the ruling party is not doing what they want, they can go to an opposition party. They've done that before, and they can do it again.
You have a glimpse into the minds and the workings of the establishment, the clique, I want to believe. Those of us who don't, who are just permutators and sideline observers who try to analyze and lacerate issues, think that maybe they've lost their hold in terms of the societal institutions, not in terms of their hold on the political process. We still believe that they have their hold on the political process. But the institutions of society, because after election, society must run on institutions. And it seems there is a systemic collapse almost everywhere.
Everywhere the society is weak.
So if the establishment only have hold on the political process and not on the institutions that drive the vehicle of societal, not even societal progress now, the institutions that drive the society, is there any sense by which one could say they're still in control? Because they might be having a carcass on their hand, as it were.
Yes, it is possible. Whichever way you look at it,
okay,
you will need a president, you will need a senate, you will need a House of Reps. As long as you keep up having that, you will have an authority,
yes,
a state authority.
Yes.
And now you have the society that they may not control, but that society is fragmented. There are in cleavages, there are in fractions, there are in factions, unable to will themselves together to work to confront that establishment. So the state will continue to survive.
And the establishment will continue to survive.
Yes, inevitably.
Until?
A friend of mine would describe it with a pawpaw. When a pawpaw gets overripe, it doesn't get plucked. It falls on its own. We might push this nation to a level that it will just collapse on its own. And that would be disastrous, not only for us, but also for the establishment. And for those who manipulate the apparatus of leadership and of governance.
Because then they will not have any state again. The establishment in Syria don't really have a state anymore. Libya, Iraq.
Yeah, Libya is there, is the worst example. Syria is there. One of the most beautiful countries, Somalia. Well, look at it.